All right, episode 107 of the Inside the Mind podcast, and I'm privileged to be joined by Iwanegbe. Man, ever since I came across your profile, I've just fallen in love with your content, not only for the value that I think you bring people, but just the overall positive energy and positive message that you bring. I think we need it at any point of our life, but especially with the past year and all the challenges. I think that's just super important to keep a hold of.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you, man. It's all about just spreading some love, some positivity, and yeah, definitely,
I
definitely.
uh, I like to kind of start these off with just kind of having my guests kind of describe a bit of their journey to get here, but kind of
Mhm.
with keeping in mind maybe one or two pieces of adversity or moments of adversity that you felt really shaped you and really shaped your mindset to be what it is today.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, for me, my journey started in Nigeria. I grew up in Africa in Nigeria. I moved to Canada when I was about 13 years old. And I got exposed to kind of all types of sports when I moved here. Back home, all we played was soccer.
Yeah.
So the second I got here and there was football, basketball, I was loving the new exposure. I got coaches really telling me to give it a shot here and there, and I really got into sports like heavily through that whole process. And listen, for me, I remember my grade 12 year, I was really like, trying to get recruited to the next level. And I got an injury like the first preseason game of the year. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this was the year I'm trying to raise some eyebrows. I'm in a small town. And I just kind of got low. I got really low. And I missed the entire football season and going into basketball too. I was just kind of just playing the whole victim card. I was just like, you know what? Screw sports, screw all of this stuff. I'm just gonna be me. And my
What
basketball coach,
what injury was it?
go
Sorry, I
ahead.
just wanted to clarify. What
Uh,
injury was it?
this it was my knee. It was my
Okay.
knee. So so I like hurt my knee, and I was just kind of just not feeling myself. I remember because I played basketball 10, 11, and in grade 12, my coach, like every time he saw me in the hallway, it's like, hey, CY, I can't wait for tryout. How you doing? This year we're gonna do this. In my head, I'm like, yo, I'm not even playing this year. I got hurt, so screw all this whole sports stuff. I was just not in the mood, and it was so much money, and I was always being the guy that people had to support. So I was just like, whatever, I don't want to deal with that this year.
Mhm.
And I remember the day of the tryout, I was just at home chilling, and this guy gave me a phone call. Italian man called me on the phone. It's like, yo, see what? And he started swearing on the phone. He's like, where the F are you? I'm like, coach, I'm at home. I couldn't tell you in person. I was just kind of this year. I wasn't. It's like, you better get here right now, and just hung up the phone. I was like, yo, I guess I
Yeah.
gotta listen to him. And honestly, that moment to me, the reason I say that is that it was such a special moment for me because I was really ready to give up. It was just like the first adversity I faced. And I just felt like, oh, the whole world's against me. It's not gonna happen. I was really soaking it up and just owning that. And it took a coach that saw the best in me, that believed in me and called out my BS and was willing to support me even when I didn't even want to be there. You know what I mean? So and that moment for me played a huge role because it started the ball rolling. Like I played that season basketball. I started getting my mojo back. I started getting my confidence back. And through that process, I was able to you know what, uh, try to get recruited with football through some all-star games and then did great there. And then I had coaches calling on me. So honestly, like he didn't force me that very day. And he didn't even take it, like he just hung up the phone on me. He didn't even, he just, you know what I mean? And so for me, throughout my career, throughout my years, so many coaches in high school, in university, and I can go on and on in multiple universities as we move on. But so many coaches have played such an instrumental role in my life. They've given me tough love. They've allowed me to raise my level of expectation, my standard for what I'm capable of doing. And it's been such an honor and a blessing. And that's why for me, I don't take coaching for granted. I know the role coaches and individuals that has just believed in me. They've taught me the skill set, but but also allowed me to sharpen my mindset to really get me ready for life. So for me, that moment in high school kind of just led to more opportunities, more adversity, more challenges, but also so much room for growth where I was able to meet people, coaches, athletes, therapy staff, everything from that. So that's a little story on there. And based on how much time we have, I could play with some other ones for
No,
you.
man, that's a lot to unpack already. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when you're describing your coach giving you that extra push you needed was just, we can't do anything in life alone. I'm a huge believer in that. And I think it's really hard for people to admit that because there might be a perception that when they ask for help or when somebody helps them, then they seem weak or they seem like they couldn't do it themselves. But how many professional athletes, how many successful businessmen got there all by themselves? Like there's at least somebody along the way that pushed them somewhere or helped them out in some way or another.
Yes, you're so true. Like that is completely true. When you think about it, it's like it takes a village, and like not just to raise a child, but it takes a village to accomplish anything great. And I think it's true confidence to ask for help. Because you're comfortable in your own skin and you're like, these are the areas I'm weak at, or these are the areas I need accountability. These are the areas like right now, like I just need someone to step in. And you understand the bigger the dream, the bigger the village. You're gonna need so many people to come and like whatever vision you have, right? You're gonna need people with different skill sets to challenge your thoughts. Because if you've never been challenged, right, you're settling. Although you think you're pushing, you're still settling because your circle isn't really elevating your thinking, right? So definitely and exactly, that was the biggest thing about playing sports for me. Sports was a blessing. And I encourage people who play sports, do whatever it is. Who cares how far you go? Because you get a safe space to learn so many skill sets, so many valuable life skill sets. Like the worst thing that happens, you lose a game. The sun comes up in the morning, but you get put in an environment where you're surrounded with winners. You're surrounded with people that are go-getters, your teammates, the staff, whatever, like whoever is around you, you're surrounded with people that are hungry and willing to put in the work. And when you immerse yourself in that kind of setting, it oozes through you. All of a sudden, you're like, man, I gotta win. Competition is good. It's against myself. You know what I mean? So sports it's a blessing. You get to work within a team and things like that.
I think everyone is, to a certain degree, is a product of their environment, and it's about who you surround yourself with. And like you said, when someone plays so many team sports and they're surrounded with so many positively and like competitive minded athletes, coaches, staff, whoever it may be, it's impossible not to take some of those values and then start applying it in your own life afterwards.
Yes. So true. So true. And go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, honestly, this, I think it's so true, right? And the biggest thing I noticed playing sports though was I noticed, there's a lot of guys that went through, whether it was 5-year varsity or whatever it was, right? And at the end of that program, like they left there thinking the exact same way, like the same habits, the same procrastination, the same, because all the effort went into just one area of life. Like that work ethic was like, I'm a great football player, and that's all I did. Everything else was secondary. And it was secretly robbing yourself for what life has to offer. So when you're in that winning environment, if you actually analyze your skill sets, like when it comes to committing yourself to a cause, and if you try to apply that in literally everything you're part of, one thing I love to say is the way I do anything is the way I do everything. Right? If I can bring that mindset into my schooling, into my business, into my relationships, now you're able to come out of that 4 or 5 years like a completely different person because you challenge your growth on every level. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can be in a winning culture and still settle for less because we just have one goal in mind, which is maybe like holding a trophy. Mm-hmm. But we're not thinking about being the best version of ourselves requires us to commit in anything we commit ourselves to.
And I mean, to tie it all back together, I think that's where the coaches come into so much play, especially with the younger athletes, because it's probably unrealistic to expect a younger athlete, someone 10 or 12 years old or whatever, to have this sort of line of thinking and it's very higher order level thinking. That's where I think the coaches really come into play. And that's why I even strive. I mean, I have a job as a coach right now, a mental coach, but that's why I always wanted to be a coach to help out the younger kids and to show them maybe a couple of things that looking back on, I felt like I missed out on, maybe because of inadequate coaching, maybe just not being put in the right situation, but whatever it may be.
Yeah, so true, so true. And it's really, really up to the coaches to just figure out the best way of communicating with each group, right? The way you communicate with a teenager, a varsity athlete, a professional athlete is completely different, but also knowing what is driving them, what are their goals? Like, how can you make this relatable to them? Because it's easy for you to think about it on a level, but if you're not making it applicable to them, you're not actually doing the best job for them, right?
Yeah, there was a book I read not too long ago. It was called The Conscious Coaching, or the Coaching Consciously, something along that line. I'm messing it up, but it's by Brett Bartholomew, and he goes into like a lot of detail about the different players on a team, not by positions but by mindset. Like you have like you're like a self-sabotager athlete that's always beating themselves up. You have that, you know, leader on the team. You have the followers. Just all the different personality traits that an athlete can have. And he just really talked about the importance as a coach, just individualizing your approach for each athlete. Because obviously if you have that blanket kind of one size fits all approach, I mean, we're talking about this in coaching, but this applies in life in general. If you go into life just thinking, you know, one size fits all and one way of thinking will work everywhere, that might not be the case. There might be, you know, times you have to individualize your thinking for certain scenarios or individualize your coaching for certain athletes.
Yeah, it's so true, right? And I think if we approach that kind of one size fit all, we're being ignorant too, right? Because we're almost expecting everyone to respond the same way to us, and everyone responds differently, right? So it's so true, and really just being self-aware, I think, is key, right? Self-awareness goes a long way.
Yeah. Before we move on, I wanted to clarify, because I looked it up. It's called Conscious Coaching for anybody that's listening to this podcast and wanted to check out that book. It's called Conscious Coaching. So I had to clarify that out. So Never Live With Myself. But
I got to check that out, Dave. Yeah, I got to check that out.
It's a good one.
It sounds like a good one.
I was kind of going through, you know, your social media because, like I said, I fell in love with your content, just the message that you're putting out. And one of the posts that caught my attention was, obviously this has been a challenging year for all of us, but you talked about the need to pivot in this crazy world, you know, 2020/2021. So I'm interested for you personally on maybe a personal level or a business level, how you were able to, or in what ways did you have to pivot your life before COVID and now as we're unfortunately still in COVID to some degree?
Yeah, honestly, that's a great question. You know, pivoting, like I'm constantly pivoting. I'm pivoting right now. but no, but like I feel like, you know, sometimes when we have such an amazing idea and we get so married to the idea and we don't know, the idea is just to get us started. You know, there's so many, like it's gonna take up different, you know, different forms. Like we're not stuck on quicksand. It's like you're able to adjust and pivot to something even better than you could have ever imagined. You know, coming during COVID, like you said, it's been the most bizarre year globally. You know, everyone had to stop and figure out like what is really going on, how long is this going to last? And for me, it was really a season where, you know, like I just kept evaluating who I want to be, what am I doing right now, and how can I keep moving that needle forward. And I knew it was the time for me to branch off and do things on my own. You know, I've always managed the gyms and things of that setting, and you know, and I found that the time last year just really, like, there's no perfect time to do anything. You know what I mean? I was having a baby and I was living a full-on salary and comfort and security, you know, but really stepping out and doing what's in my heart, which was not just to start my online platform, Brio, but also my life coaching and things of that nature that's really burning inside of me, right? So I just had to take that step forward and really take ownership in this in myself as an entrepreneur, learn what I need to learn, and constantly pivoting those ideas, whatever it is, what is working, what isn't working, what do I need to do next, and not being so glued to how I think it should look like.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, they want to hear, what works well, but I'm always interested in what doesn't work well. Is there something in the past year that you thought would work well in your business, for example, your entrepreneurship, and it ended up not working well, and then how you kind of overcame that?
For sure, for sure. I think the biggest thing I'm learning all the time is that when we have a great product, we want to market it to the masses, right? But also understanding that figuring out where you are as a business and knowing that for me, my biggest thing was narrowing down my niche. It was like it's good to try and hey, I wanna have some great, I can help everybody, but it's learning that no, that was not the right strategy. You know what I mean? I need to stay in the lane I want to stay in. I need to narrow down my niche so that I can market and I can communicate more effectively with the people I can be of service with the best and start growing and building more credibility and repetition and testimonials and things in that setting to then continue to expand that niche. So for me, it's just learning, just learn the best way of marketing is constantly split testing too, right? So not just figuring out, okay, this isn't working. Okay, that's all right. Now let's try this way. Okay, who is it? Okay, how can we best serve them? What can we do to, you know what I mean? What makes us different? Constantly asking that question. And just being, you know what? For me, I focus on really developing that bulletproof mindset that can allow us to deal with anything life has to offer, but also using the body as a tool. So knowing that is my lane and how can I do it? Who do I need to serve? I can't serve everybody, and that's okay. You know what I mean? So specifically, it's just re-identifying my target audience.
Yeah. I love that so much because I think with so many people, when they start their entrepreneurship journey, they have that vision. It's great to have that vision that, you're going to be a successful millionaire, you're going to reach millions and millions of people, whatever it may be, but nobody starts like that. I mean, unless you're already a famous athlete in some way or another, and you already have that platform, everyone kind of starts from ground zero. So while it's nice to have that vision and that long-term vision of your eventual end goals, unfortunately, I think a lot of people get discouraged because they think that the results are going to come so quickly, and those results specifically, and they end up giving up probably a bit sooner than they actually had to.
So true. And and it's hard, right? Because we overestimate what we can accomplish in a year and underestimate what we can do in a decade or two. And I fall victim to that. It's like, oh, I'm a visionary. Let's go, let's go. But sometimes life gives us a reality check and we have to just constantly finding. That's why it's so important to really establish, I know we hear this a lot, the why. Like the why is oversaid, but really establish why you're doing what you're doing, and it has to be bigger than you, because the reality is if you actually aspire to achieve anything great, it shouldn't come easy. And if it does, you're settling.
Yeah.
So so it's really, but then when we're experiencing those adversity, although we know it shouldn't be easy, it's like, oh, well, this is kind of hard. That's so that's why honestly it just helps to really establish that why and keep trying to surround yourself with right people, right? Because not people that are just your cheerleaders, but people that challenge you and hold you accountable, right? They know how big you dream. They believe you're capable of achieving it, and they just hold you accountable, because no matter how tough you are, whatever you're doing, life has a way of hitting you a little bit. So preparing ahead and making sure that there's certain habits you do that keeps your mind sharp, that gives you energy, is very important.
I love that, man. I'm just writing some notes because there's so much I want to unpack there. But the first thing was, I mean, you mentioned surrounding yourself with the right people. And I mean, you're not in high school anymore. You don't have that old Italian coach to push you. So who are those people around you right now that you feel really do push you and give you that perspective. Like you said, telling you what you need to be told when you need to be told it.
Yeah, honestly, number one is my wife. Man, she gives it to me straight. Sometimes I'm almost annoyed, but I need it. I know I need it, and I'm grateful she does. I got my brother. My brother and like was very close in age, right? So we're always like very ambitious. So we're always pulling each other in different directions. And honestly, I've been very fortunate to have come across some amazing clients over the years that I've established good relationship with that are just years ahead of me. Like they're decades ahead of me. And it is amazing communicating with them because it keeps allowing me to dream even bigger. Because it's like if they can do it, man, I can do it too. And just recently, like honestly, just this past month, I've been like intentionally actually putting together a peer group of people, like intentionally, because it's good to have great acquaintance, great friends, this, but I've actually been communicating with some entrepreneurs I know in multiple industries, like all across, and just trying to get them together eventually so we can just create this mindset, mastermind group and really hold each other extra accountable. So it's like, hey, I got to check in with them next quarter. So I got to do something about it.
I love that, man. I love it. And I mean, it's been a constant theme, in our conversation so far that we should strive to do what we love to do. And like you said, it might not always be the most secure thing. You previously having a secure salary employment and then branching off. I'm assuming that when you branched off to entrepreneurship, you gave that up, or was this something you did on the side?
I had to give it up. It was conflict. So yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people, no matter their field or discipline, that are in a similar position where they're in a secure job. It might not be a job that they like, but it's secure. Everybody needs money to some degree to live. But they have this, this passion for a certain hobby or this passion for a certain field of work, and they don't know how to start that transition. Do you have maybe one or two tips for people like that based on your own experience and in your own experience chatting with other entrepreneurs?
For sure. First thing I'll just say is there's no such thing as a perfect time. Okay. So the sun, the moon, they're not going to line up tomorrow and be like, okay, this is the day I need to do it. There's no such thing. But I guess the biggest tip I can help anyone out there kind of struggling to figure out just how to take that next step is really try not to focus on that word how. Because when we're focusing so much on how, we get paralyzed. It's like we can't go nowhere. It feels like we're hostage, right? It's like I don't even know what first step to take.
Like, how am I going to do this type of thing? Like,
yeah, exactly. How am I going to do it? So the best thing I would say to do is we can go through where I say where, what, who. So first of all, where do I need to go? Like think about it. Like how does it look like? Okay, where am I right now? Really analyze. Okay, this is where am I right now? Be honest with yourself, and this is where I want to go. Okay, now what do I need to do? Like, what is the first thing I can do if you can't think about the whole thing to move me forward? Once you think about that first thing, okay, who do I need to get involved? So once you can just eliminate this how, all of a sudden, where, what, and who just ends up figuring out the how. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, so the first thing I just need to do is maybe I should just research about that business I keep saying I want to start. I keep saying I want to start it, but I haven't researched into it. Okay, let's just start with that. That's the first what. Okay, all right, this is what I'm going to need to do. All right, now the next step is saying, okay, I need to invest in a mic and I just need to start getting comfortable recording. Okay, just start getting comfortable recording. Maybe you don't have to publish nothing yet. So I think sometimes we get so consumed with being perfect and making sure that the first time anyone experiences the service, the product we have, it's like this vision we imagine. It's like, it's not going to be like that. That's not the reality. And unless you start, you're not really going to know what to work on. So at the end of the day is, don't focus on how, but you got to understand there's no such thing as the right timing. Like absolutely, you're not going to wake up out of bed one day and feel like today is the day. You need to make today the day because today is the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like how I'm trying to look for a house right now, and it's like there's no perfect time to look for a house because it's either you might miss the boat if you wait too long, right? That's kind of how I'm making that analogy now. But I like how you said too, and you mentioned the first thing you do doesn't have to be perfect. And I think some people actually would enjoy seeing that process and that authenticity. I mean, I think that's why a lot of, in some instances, I won't say a lot, in some instances, why maybe some YouTube celebrities are where they are right now, because they showed the process, they showed the journey, and that's what people want to see, because I think that shows them, that gives them the blueprint to then replicate it in their own field. Whereas if you just strive to be perfect, I think you're missing so much of the backstory. Gary Vee talks about it too. I love talking about Gary Vee, Gary Vaynerchuk,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He talks about documenting and not creating. And that's kind of where my mind was going there too. Like, just document everything, because it's the process, the journey, that authentic, view into your life and your business that I think is going to attract the people that you want to attract in the end of the day.
Yeah, so true, man. And honestly, and like what you're doing right now is amazing, because just imagine the conversations you're having with people, right, all around, and you guys are just doing this. You know what I mean? Elevating each other forward, and in order to get to this so-called perfect, which like there's no such thing, but in order to get to what you deem is perfect, let's just say there is a perfect, okay, you have to constantly fix to get there. You have to constantly refine to get to whatever that is. You don't see a car step on like this constant testing to make sure it's safe for the road, right? So it's the same thing as like whatever your giftings are, your purpose are, you need to actually start using it, start applying it, start doing it in order for you to refine and fix to actually become what you want it to be. But by waiting to get there, but not using it, you're actually robbing yourself of the path that takes you to get to what you know what I mean, visualizing. So you got to just start.
Do you kind of fine tune and kind of assess and analyze like on a set schedule every day, every other day, every week, whatever it is, or just kind of when the feeling comes up and maybe something feels off, then you reassess, or how do you manage that?
For me, I think it's good. Like it's good to have goals, but then also have tasks that you need to do and stuff. And for me, weekly, once a week, I like go over kind of a checklist of stuff. Kind of, okay, this is all I want to do in the next 3 years, the next year, next 6 months, kind of stuff. And just see like, did I do anything this week to move that forward? Like, I don't have to have changed the whole script, but did I do anything that allowed me to move forward in that? So I constantly assess kind of just little progress, because I think when we don't find that we're gaining momentum or we're gaining any progress, it's very easy to get discouraged. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And in order for you to know if you're getting progress, you actually need to assess. You need to constantly, like, you have to be aware of what is happening. If you feel like, you know what, I don't have to stress. I know it's not the way I want it to be, but man, I did stuff last week that get me forward. I can be content, but in the mindset of urgency. You know what I mean? So one thing I love to say is stay humble and hungry. I'm humble, but I'm hungry. But it's also understanding, again, it's very important. You don't just have this vision. You need to keep writing it down. By writing it down, it's like it holds you. It's almost like it gets even realer. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, I'm really gonna do this. Yeah. So this, yeah.
Just like definitely. How I always recommend to people when they want to change some aspect of their life, tell somebody about it. Because once you tell somebody about it, then that sort of social accountability piece is there. And not only do you don't want to let yourself down, of course, because this is a goal you have for yourself, but you don't want to let that person down too. And just the thought of going back to that person and telling them that you didn't accomplish your goals, or at least you didn't give your 100% effort to accomplish that goal. For me personally, that's enough of a deterrent to be like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to meet this goal.
Facts. And tell them the deadline you put on that goal. You say you're trying to do it's like, if you're like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it in a year. You got to see that person every week, every month. It's like, oh, damn.
Yeah. But that's sometimes that's just what it takes to reach your goals.
No kidding.
Are there any sort of resources in terms of like podcasts, books, apps, whatever it may be, that you've kind of found helpful in the past couple of years to really not only help you on an entrepreneurship side, but also just on an overall mindset side?
Yeah, definitely. I find for me, like I do audiobooks, like once in a while I have like a hard copy. I used to always do hard copies, but
Yeah.
nowadays I'm all about that. And I tell if you are commuting 15 minutes a day, whatever it is, like get it yourself an audiobook. Like you can get a college degree in a couple of years. Honestly, there's so many amazing content out there. For me, listen, like audiobook is a huge one for me. YouTube is and also good there and here. Podcasts like, but I find also just creating kind of like a morning ritual too, just kind of finding your habits. You know what I mean? Like I want to meditate, I want to pray, I want to get in my Bible. So whatever kind of things, like even exercising physically, which for me it's like things like that allow you not only to stay sharp so that when you're learning those information, you're actually able to soak it in, but those other exercises or things you can do that can allow you to really elevate your confidence so that once you actually do take that information, you're actually able to implement it. So one has to clear your mind to actually take it in. Another stuff you got to do around you needs to just build more confidence in you so that once you actually implement, like you can actually implement that knowledge. You know what I mean? Because knowledge is potential power. It's not power. Like you still got to do something with it. But yeah, definitely it's just finding a routine where it's like there's always time to get valuable content, right? And we live in such an information era that it's so easy to be distracted. Like, I raise my hand, like we all fall into that wormhole, but just finding a way where you can actually create some balance and margin in your life and prioritizing more growth.
I love how you mentioned the morning routine because that's something that I've tried to really incorporate in the past couple of weeks. So what I did is I went and I wrote down all the things, all the things I wanted to do in the morning. So it's like wake up, plan my day, drink a glass of water, brush my teeth, all that kind of stuff. There's like a podcast that I'm subscribed to. It's called the Daily Refresh. It's like a 3-minute thing. But the guy that does it, he lists out like a gratitude quote, and then he like asks you to think of something that relates to that quote, and then you do like a short breathing exercise. It takes like 3 minutes. I do that, and then I stretch for like 10 or 15 minutes, just something quick.
Nice.
And
nice.
When I thought of this all, I was so hesitant to start a morning routine because I thought it was going to take up so much time and I have to wake up so much earlier. But if I do it all without, getting distracted on social media, getting distracted on my fantasy sports, whatever it is, just doing it back to back to back, I was able to do it in like 30, 35 minutes, which I was already spending 30 minutes on my phone every morning. And it was really just an aha moment to me that when you really look at things as routines and you look at stacking habits one after another, you can really get a lot of habits done in a really efficient amount of time. And I think a lot of people would be surprised how much they could accomplish if they just are really efficient and really purposeful with their time.
So true. So true. And honestly, there's so much value in a morning routine. Like you need to start your day you need to control how you start your day. And it cannot be influenced by the outside world and what is going on. And don't try and be a hero. Whoever's out there that's trying to start a morning routine, figure out what works for you, right? Everyone has what they need to do. Start with something you can do. But the best thing I would say, like you did, is write out what you need to do. And beside it, kind of put the time it should take you to do each one of this activity. And then sum it up. If it's going to take you 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is that if you cannot say 30 minutes to start my day, it's a priority for me to take my life to a whole nother level, you need to recheck your goals because it sounds interesting, but if you're committed to those goals, you should take that 30 minutes. If you know that is going to, because it is a game changer. You can, this says, they say success leave clues, like follow the track of anyone that is able to come from nothing to something. every single one of them have a morning routine because you need to start your day winning. You win the morning, you win the day.
Yeah, exactly. You alluded to it a bit already, but what does your morning routine kind of look like, and what are the habits that you've incorporated in your morning routine?
Yeah, my morning routine, it's I've been able to add on to it now just from repetition. But I start my day too. I drink a glass of water. You know, I work on a breathing exercise. So just this past month, I added like a couple more things into it. So like I said, I started with a bit. Now it's okay. I've mastered this. There's a few more things I want to add into it. So now what it's been recently is I drink my water. I do a breathing exercise. Then I do meditation. I do passage meditation. So I've tried a few kind of things, but that works for me. Work on some gratitude, and then I actually work on some visualization because it's a common theme with any aspiring athlete, like an Olympian. This is something we stopped doing after we play. Like every athlete that used to play sports, you've closed your eyes, you've thought about you doing this, winning this, and then you finish, you're done playing sports, you start visualizing. And there's such a power in visualizing, like literally not just seeing it, but attach the emotion to it. What are you doing? Like let your whole body feel you already there. So for me, I visualize it. I pray. I do a little worship session in the morning, and I start my day and my mind is clear, and I'm ready to go.
Love it, dude. I love it. And the visualization piece too, I love because I've only really thought about it in an athletic perspective. I haven't really applied or thought or talked about it outside of athletics. But I mean, if it's successful for athletes to perform at their game, it has to be successful for people to perform in their business and their relationships, just in life in general.
Yeah, they say 1+1=2, right? So if it works. So like in an athletic setting, we've seen evidence in our personal life of it working. And for some reason, it seems kind of foolish or child. It seems weird in not an athletic setting to visualize anymore. It's like, what? I can visualize when I'm training for a sport, but not when I'm training for life. I don't want, you know what I mean? So there's such a value in visualizing, right? Because it makes that goal so much. It brings it actually closer to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not this, if only one day, maybe, but it comes right in front of your face. You feel what it should. You taste, smell. You like, it is mine. You know what I mean? It brings it even closer to you, and it gives you, okay, I'm so close. I can't give up now. I'm so close. You know what I mean? It brings it alive. It brings it alive.
I love that, man. I love it. I think we've given the people a lot to think about and a lot to chew on and to try out. But before we sign off, I wanted to give you a shot to shout out your Brio brand and where people can find you and kind of get in contact with you if they had any questions or any about your services or whatever it may be.
For sure. Thank you for that. Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me at brio.zone, Brio, BRIO.zone. You can go on Instagram, on web-based, whatever it is. You can find me on there. And we have fitness, motivational content, anything you need.
Awesome, dude. I love it. Again, CY, I had a blast talking to you, dude. I learned a lot myself, and I'm sure many people out there will learn hopefully as much, if not more. So again, I appreciate your time a lot, man. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. It was great being on here. I got to grow. Thank you for you and your community. This was amazing.